First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. Greg Nibbler here with Fox 12 Now. Thanks for joining us wherever you're watching. Appreciate it. Always want to make sure that you know that. And as you can see by what's written right below me right there, we are talking about the big topic that is going on here, at least in Portland and beyond. And that has to do with black bears being sighted in Forest Park. That is not something that happens very often. You always hear about, coyotes, or there was the wolverine a few weeks ago that was being sighted around Portland, but now black bears, and that is something that, quite honestly, we're just not used to here. And so that's what we're going to be discussing. But to do that, we have the expert who is joining us. It is Beth Willian from the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife to talk about this. Beth, thank you. I'm sure this is a very busy day for you, with a lot of people inquiring about bears. But can you walk us through just exactly what has happened here so far?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Greg. ODFW was made aware last week, starting about May 15th, of several complaints about bears in the area. And I think we got 4 different complaints that all had to do with bears getting into something like birdseed or garbage and even beehives. So we were aware of those complaints. We talked to the people who made those reports and provided them with, guidance on how to avoid those types of situations with bears. And a little closer to the weekend, we were made aware of some reports of people in Forest Park seeing a black bear. And we have worked with Portland Park staff to put up signs in the area with information on what to do if you see a bear, and we're monitoring the situation. So that's a little recap of where we're at the moment.
Well, and, black bears aren't anything new here to the state of Oregon. Clearly, they're in our forests. They're all over the place. I know you hear about it a lot on the coast, too, of dealing with maybe black bear encounters, but not something so much here in the city. Even though Forest Park is huge, it doesn't seem, it's a very city-oriented park. It's surrounded by Portland, so I guess you don't really think of it as being that far out into the wilderness. But is this something that, black bears have been there the entire time, we just haven't been encountering them, or is this something different?
As far as we know, this is the first sighting in Forest Park in quite a few years. I think Portland Park said they haven't had a sighting in 13 years or so, but the park is really good bear habitat. So it's not unusual in that sense, but since there's lots of people around, bears don't normally like being where people are. So it's unusual in that sense. And it's possible that this bear is hanging around because of what I mentioned earlier about unsecured attractants. And by attractant, I mean anything that smells good to a bear that they see as a food source. So that could be anything from birdseed, beehives, your garbage, even drippings on a grill. Bears have a tremendous sense of smell. So there's a lot that will bring them to your property if it is not secured and locked away.
So they can smell that barbecue from a long ways away.
Absolutely.
Do we think it is just the one bear, or possibly multiple?
At this point, we can't confirm one way or the other if it's one or multiple, but we suspect it might be the same individual based on the complaints and getting into things than it shouldn't be getting into.
Well, what are some of the concerns then, I suppose, with a bear becoming this comfortable to come into that, close of contact with people?
Sure. Yeah, that's never what we want. Bears should remain wary of humans. And when they lose that wariness, that can turn into really dangerous safety concerns for people. But as far as we know, the sightings that we have received, it sounds like the bear has not approached people. It's kind of made its way on once it's maybe had a look. But it has not been exhibiting any dangerous behavior that we have had reported at this point. So in that sense, it's not too much of a worry, but it is very important to keep safety tips in mind. Wildlife attacks are incredibly rare, but wildlife is inherently unpredictable. So it's good to keep safety tips in mind. So we can talk a little bit about if you do encounter a black bear, it's important to stay calm, keep your distance, don't run. You can make noise, clap your hands, yell, make yourself look large. So the idea is to scare it away. So you're going to want to make yourself look big, put your arms over your head. But yeah, most importantly, just stay calm. You might just have a really interesting and cool encounter with a bear. Just respect its space and make sure it has a way to escape. So you never want to be in a situation where you're cornering it or it doesn't have an exit strategy.
So that's a lot right there, I think, to pay attention to too. So be big, be a big presence if you encounter one.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So does that include putting your arms out to your side or making a lot of noise?
Yeah. Yep. That is a good thing to do if you're hiking. You can hike in a group, or whether you're with people or by yourself. Make some noise, even if it's just clapping, talking loud, whistling along your way. Those are all good ways to make a bear aware of your presence. So there are no surprises.
And the bear's probably going to want to avoid you if it knows that you're there.
Yes.
So no surprises for the bear. Make sure that you're making noise and making yourself known and making your presence there. Something else that you mentioned, giving it space and making sure that it can have an escape route. So that's definitely, I think another important one that you just mentioned that you should be aware of. What about, and this is, because I've read a lot about different things with bear encounters, but then you get brown bears mixed up with black bears, and what do you do with those two? And obviously we don't have brown bears here. But right. With black bears, is this something where you want to avoid eye contact or you want to make eye contact to intimidate?
Generally, you'll want to avoid eye contact, and in the really unlikely event that you are attacked by a black bear, fight back. Don't just curl up in a ball on the ground. You want to fight back to the best of your ability, kick, throw rocks, anything that you have at your disposal. So you'll want to fight back aggressively.
Okay, that is great to know. What are some other preventative techniques that people can do? You mentioned all the smells and things of bears coming in. What are some ways to help, curb that behavior?
Sure. It's really important to make sure that your garbage, your recycling is secure. And you can do that. Sometimes trash providers have bear-resistant cans available for you to use. But if not, there are other ways to secure it. You can make sure it has a locking or a screw-on lid, or just fully enclosed trash storage. But I would say the number one tip, if you don't have access to that kind of thing, is to take your trash out as close to pickup as possible. So the morning of, if possible, take your trash out. Don't leave it sitting out on the driveway overnight. Also, remove bird feeders. Bird seed is also very attractive. It's super high calorie, and bears are very interested in that. And also at this time of year, birds have a lot of natural food available. So you can take your feeders down and you'll avoid bear issues, and the birds will still have plenty to eat. And another tip would be to not feed pets outdoors, or don't leave pet food outside. If you do have to feed your pets indoors, outside, bring the food in after you're done feeding them. And cleaning and storing grills is another important tip. And alerting your neighbors if there's something going on. If you see a bear in your backyard, or getting into something, make sure your community knows about it, because a community effort is going to be the best way to prevent problems with bears long term.
Oh, yeah, it's great. If you see a bear, talk about the bear. So let other people know about the bear. And then I know they should also be alerting the Parks Department too, or perhaps you. Is that the right way to go about this? So say somebody's out there in Forest Park right now, and or wherever, somewhere near there, they encounter the bear. Everything goes fine. Who should they notify, though?
Sure, yeah, it would be good to notify parks staff as well as ODFW. If you're in the park and you see a bear, that would be good for us to know about, but definitely the park staff as well, so we can keep tabs on it if it's still hanging out in the area. And outside of the park, just general bear advice, if you see bears acting unusual, and by unusual, that means continued sightings during the daylight, or wariness, a loss of wariness around humans or pets, definitely give ODFW a call, and of course, call 911 in an emergency. But if it's just unusual behavior, you can give us a call, and in Forest Park, let park staff know as well.
Well, and I guess we'll be monitoring to see, if this bear continues to hang out, or do you think it's possible it could just move on back into wherever it came from?
It might move on, but the key to this is going to be for attractants to be secured. So we really encourage people to make sure that anything attractive to a bear is really secure, because once they get used to getting into something that tastes good or smells good to them, it can be challenging to divert them from that food source.
Well, Beth, appreciate you taking some time today to talk to us here on Fox 12 Now. And like I said at the beginning, I'm sure you're very, very busy with inquiries regarding this, but we appreciate it. We'll definitely be passing this along to everyone. And thanks for being here on Fox 12 Now today.
Thanks so much for having me, Greg.
All right, again, that was Beth from the ODFW talking about the black bear encounters or black bear sightings that have happened and what to do. So a lot of really great information there. And thanks everyone for joining us here on Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. We're live here every weekday on these streaming platforms and of course our YouTube and everywhere that you're finding us here, the website, whatever one you're on right now, that's where we're at. So remember that. And you can always join us. We'll have lots more tomorrow. But for now, signing off, I'm Greg Nibbler.